So in your testimony, you then indicated that the IPID report on Phala was classified by the head of IPID. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Not by yourself. So based on your response on what the mandate of IPID is, can I then confirm that IPID would not be investigating the president? They are investigating police conduct.
That's correct.
Now, how does one get a report declassified, Minister, if somebody was looking for a report that IPID would have classified?
You will need to wait until IPID declassifies it. In other words, they review their decision and they come to that conclusion. When there was a question from Parliament on the classification, which was mistakenly assumed to be me who had done that, I actually took the question, went to IPID to say, did you classify? What were the reasons? I'm facing a question in Parliament, and they told me that it is them, independent of the minister, and some of the reasons they touted were other parallel investigations that were going on in relation to Phala, and therefore they then classified for that reason until they come to another conclusion, maybe at the conclusion of some criminal cases that were going on under another entity that time.
Thank you, Minister. So I would be correct then, based on what you said, if I was to advise Honorable Khusela that if he is looking for information about an IPID report that does not investigate the president, despite his repeated assurances to that regard, he has to approach IPID for the classification of the report.
That's correct, Honorable.
Thank you. So I trust that will bring the matter to a close, Honorable Khusela on Phala.
Chair, singabantu Chair, mele sibonge Chair. Siyabonga mamdikuzamile ukumdefend uminister ongizophinda futhi. Sorry.
Honorable Shongwe, I agree, you know how much I love you and how much I respect you.
Don't take my 10 minutes.
You know that. And I have assured you that there is at no time where we will deny you an opportunity to speak. So when you raise your hand, the chair will gladly recognize you. Like I do now, Honorable Sangoni has completed the part that she wanted to, and I saw that your hand was up. I now allow you to speak.
Thank you, Chair. No, Chair, kuyisinto ukuthi umuntu mayenza kahle sibonge. So umkhonto wesizwe Chair besicela ukubonga kumama Khusela ukuthi awuzamile umdefend uminister. Kodwa sazombuza ke imibuzo ngoba iphala leli miningi imizegcekeziwe emalokishini awaclassifyanga ama-document walawo ama-docket walawo mizile egcekeziwe. Sisazoyixoxa ngoba ireport kuyi IPID. Siyabonga mama Khusela ne-ANC edefend uminister. Inkosi ibusise. Amen.
Do you want to comment on the message of gratitude?
No, it's a pleasure, Honorable Chairperson. As the ANC, we will continue to seek to educate Konto Wesizwe, as they call us ngabantu bakwagogo. So we're happy to educate them on how these things work. Thank you, Chair.
I see the hand of Honorable Nomvalo is up.
Yeah, no, Chair. Can members of this committee be protected? And not, Chair, please don't allow their names to be wrongfully cited in a line of questioning. If we want to maintain the decorum of this meeting, I think it's important that we comply with the highest principles of discipline and not allow members to just throw in names unnecessarily so and unprovoked of one of honorable members in this committee. I thought you are going to protect us against what honorable...
what has been said, Honorable Nomval?
And two, we don't need to be educated by the ANC. They don't qualify to educate us. And they will never qualify. We don't need to be educated. If anything, it's us who must educate them on how to run a country without being engulfed by corruption. They need to be protected, to be educated by us. This country is in turmoil because of them. So, Chair, please protect us, because if you allow them to degenerate, we are also going to degenerate. We can degenerate, but because we respect your stewardship as the Chair, and we respect members of this committee, we choose not to degenerate. So can we not be drawn to such? Please.
I want to hear from you. What is the part that you want corrected?
No, he must not throw the name of Khusela in her line of questioning. It's unnecessary, Chair. To say to a witness, if I tell Khusela this, will I be correct? This is not about individuals.
Okay. So what you are saying is that instead of being specific, she could just have said, honorable member.
No, Chair. As we ask questions here, people must not take notes of what we're asking and want to use our names unnecessarily so in their line of questioning. He can ask a question without mentioning Khusela and without being sarcastic, because she was sarcastic by saying, if I tell Khusela this, would I be correct? What is that?
Okay. Honorable Matthys.
Mine is just on clarity, Chair, so we don't want to leave the nation misunderstood about our terms of reference, as Honourable Member has said. On 3.5 and 3.6 of our terms of reference, it covers, if we want to bring in Phala Phala, we can bring in Phala Phala, because the broader scope of what we're doing, I've just lost these terms of reference, speaks to us investigating the broader corruption within the justice system. And if Phala Phala, Honourable Member, falls under that, we are allowed to bring that to the committee and for us to investigate that as well. And also in terms of us declassifying documents, it does not need the MKP to go and declassify the Phala Phala report. We can make that decision here as a committee to have that done if it's going to serve the purpose of it. So it was just about clarification before the nation is misled by the GNU. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Malema.
No, on 2 points, Chair. It will be disingenuous and anti-democratic principles not to make reference to an honorable member who made a point that you think it is differently put and therefore more clarity is sought. So there is nothing wrong with what Honorable Sangoni does. In the principles of debates, the best option for your name not to be called again is to keep quiet. If you are sensitive like that, keep quiet. But if you are going to open your mouth, you must know a reference is going to be made to that opened mouth, especially if it gets opened and say a lot of nothing. So there is nothing wrong with points of engagements and done in a very respectful way, where Honorable Sangoni waited for a turn. She could have come in even at that time. She decided, no, I'm not going to come in at that time. I'll wait for my turn. So what is that? That is, you must not be scared of the highest stage of engagement. And that is Parliament. That's where we are now. And then the second point is, in terms of 3.5 of our terms of reference and 3.6, actually I must read them. Establish whether any wrongdoing, corruption, or breach of conduct have occurred within SAPS or any other relevant institution as outlined in the revelation. Assess the adequacy of internal mechanism for dealing with corruption, misconduct, and poor management within the SAPS, within the Ministry of... So if there is corruption that is being done at IPIT, and amongst other things, the corruption of sealing Phala Phala, we are well within our rights to raise it here. And the minister can answer for himself. So Honorable Khusela is not outside the terms of reference of this ad hoc committee, and therefore there is nothing wrong with what he said about Phala Phala. We think and we hold a view, some of us, that Phala Phala at IPID was wrongly classified, because we find no justification why Phala Phala is classified. Police who were investigating Phala Phala ended up being investigated by IPID because someone reported them at IPID that these police were favoring the president. And before all of them were equal. Therefore, we want IPID to investigate the conduct of these police who are protecting the president. Whether you like it or not, Phala Phala is the president. It's Honorable Cyril Ramaphosa. It's a synonym for Honorable Cyril Ramaphosa. So it doesn't matter how people want to put it. So we are well within our right, Chair, and that right must be protected, and society must not be misled that people who speak about Phala Phala here, they are outside the terms of reference. And the good thing with terms of reference, the constitution or the law, is very important that every time when you speak about it, make reference to it, because you might think you know it, only to find that you don't know it. It's like Bible. A lot of you think you know Bible and you end up saying wrong things because you had those pastors who are feeding people petrol saying the same things, and you come here and repeat those things without having read the Bible. Thanks.
Honorable Chief Whip. No,
thanks, Chair.
I'm aware the clock has stopped.
Yeah.
Honorable Sangoni must not be worried.
No, thanks, Chair. I think the earlier intervention made by Honorable Malema is quite correct. Throughout our sessions, I mean, right from the inception, we have made references, and I will when I ask questions to the minister later on. We have been making references to questions that were posed by either the senior counsel or any one of our members. So that practice is correct, and I don't think that we should change it. Where I think, on the second intervention, where I think we probably running a risk that colleagues did not understand the context within which Honorable Sangoni was raising the issue. Over a period of time, on many occasions in this platform, the insinuation has been made that the classification of the Phala Phala report was at the instance or at the behest of the minister. References have been made, if you go to our records in this ad hoc committee, that the minister somehow had a hand on that issue. As a consequence of which, in one of our hearings, one of the witnesses was asked a direct question, I can't remember which of the generals, who has the authority to classify the report? And the answer was that the only person who can classify the report is the primary author of the report. Now, when Honorable Sangoni is raising the question, of course, she may have jokingly then made references, which is what I suppose has also made the MKP not to be comfortable. She may have been very, very casual in terms of how she refers to Honorable Khusela. But the fundamental issue is that nobody is saying a discussion on the Phala Phala question, in whatever way it arises in this meeting, is a violation of our terms of references. But we would like you to appreciate the context within which she posed the question to the minister, because that has got to do with our history as opposed to what has actually happened today. I thought it's important to clarify that, because I don't think there's a fundamental difference between what Honorable Malema is saying and his understanding with what Honorable Sangoni was saying. The question is the context within which she raises the question, given our history with this matter. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Honorable Khusela.
Ngithokoze Mgcinisihlalo. It is unfortunate that, in fact, let me put it this way, it's not unfortunate. It was obvious. I serve in the Police Portfolio Committee. I'm not parachuted. For the last, since I came into Parliament, I understand much better than what Honorable Member Sangoni was trying to educate me. There's nothing he can educate me about. iPad, IDEC, and whatever institution which we deals with. You know? Now, the issue No, I'm not going to play with semantics here. I can do that if I want to be naughty. But I was naughty during those years when I was young. Now, the minister is not a zombie unless they want to turn him into a zombie. The minister answered me on the day. He answered me. She doesn't need he doesn't need an advocate or an SC here. Now, if somebody wants to attack me indirectly, I'm straight. Straight, I don't fear anything in my life. Now, let's not do that. The decorum which my colleague was talking about, we want to maintain that. Now, if the honorable member is uncomfortable, I don't belong to the factions of the ANC. I don't belong to any factions. I know it's a very sensitive matter for the minister. And I feel pity for Honorable Sangoni, because we're still going to ask the minister here. And other members who are coming, deployees of the ANC. And we are not here playing party politics. Let him present her own story here. Ask her own question. I'm not going to interfere. Even if he says iPad or IP belongs to a Department of Justice, is fine. But I know, because I serve in that committee, I didn't remove anyone to come in here.
No, it's fine.
No one was removed. I'm here. I'm serving in that portfolio. I know the history. I know everything. I didn't come here to defend anybody or anyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Honorable Scosa. Honorable Nomvalo, you will be the last.
Yeah, no, Chair. I just wanted to make this point that we still maintain our position. And we are saying this to seek your guidance. We're not inviting opinions and sentiments about how sensitive we are and so on. Here we seek your guidance as the chairperson of this meeting to say, don't allow a situation where some members choose to be sarcastic and tell us that they are educating us, as if they qualify to educate us. They don't qualify to educate us. It's us who qualify to educate them, not the other way around. So, Chair, we are seeking for your guidance. We're not seeking for anyone's guidance except yours as a chairperson of this meeting. We can't allow the name of the MK party to be rubbished here. If people have got a problem with the MK party, they must raise that elsewhere. It's not us who said people must lose elections. It's not the MK, it's not us who said people must get 1% in KZN and be voted only by their girlfriends, their candidates, and not receive any votes from anyone. So they must not come and express their anger here in the ad hoc committee, because we can do that as well. There is no mouth here which speaks a lot of nothing. If there's anything that does a lot of nothing, is a nose that can't even control mafinyila. Not a mouth that speaks a lot of nothing. Everything that we have spoken here as the MK party is in line with the terms of reference. It's in line with the terms of reference. Chair, if anything, we will never be bullied here. If people have been thriving through bullying, they are not going to bully us. We're not going to allow that. We're talking to you, we have no interest of talking to anyone about the guidance that we request from you and the protection that we request from you. So can we be protected, Chair? Because we will be tempted to respond.
Thank you so
For as long as they provoke us, we will respond.
Thank you so
Fearlessly so.
Honorable members, let me do this. Let me tell you,
No,
because
Chair.
I will give you a chance to speak. Let me
No,
say,
on a point of order, I just want to make one point very clear.
point of order.
You see, the problem is when you deal with anti-intellectuals.
No, but he is out of order. I'm
That's
also raising a
suffer
point
from
of order, Chair.
ruralism.
I'm raising a point of order.
I'm
These are
ruling.
small-
On a point
these are
of order,
small boys
Chairperson,
that
on a
have
point of
engaged-
order.
Have engaged their
On a point
father
of order, Chair.
long before
Chair,
they
on a
arrived
point
here.
of order. On a point of order,
When they were still
Chairperson.
looking after
On a point of
cows
order, Chairperson.
in the villages
he
of
continues to
Mzimkhulu.
say nothing. He
I was
says a
dealing
lot
with
of
their
nothing.
father here.
He can't even
Yeah.
control Mafinyila.
They can't do anything.
He can't
Small
even
boys.
control Mafinyila.
Control
That's
your-
the only thing.
control your weight.
We're going to speak speak, Chair, for as long as
Control your weight.
We're
At
not
least
going
control
to
your
be
weight.
bullied by Malema
And
here.
ri- and buy
We're
the
not
right
going
size
to be
of
bullied by
clothes.
you. We're not your boys. We're not your fans here,
Control your
Malema.
weight and
We
buy
are
the
not
right
your
size of
fans
clothes.
here.
Okay,
You think what these boys were carrying bags for you?
That
We are not
fair
your fans
That
here.
fair to
We
to
are
kill
not
you
your
in your
fans. We
sleep.
are going to confront you.
Honorable
We will
Malema.
confront you.
to kill
We
you
will
in your
confront you. We will confront you.
Honorable
We are not your
Malema,
fans here.
Honorable Nomvalo.
We're not your fans here.
Honorable members,
We're going to confront him.
May you please listen to me, honorable
We're going to
members.
confront him. We're not his fans.
I
We're not
request,
these boys who are carrying bags for him.
honorable members, I request.
Control your
You
weight.
are not going to
Control
bully us.
you.
Control
You are
your
not
weight.
going
I
to bully
request that
us,
you
Malema.
listen-
We're not
you
going to be
listen to
bullied
me.
by you. We'll never be bullied by you.
Honorable Nomvalo, you are the last person whose microphone is still on. You know, when I was at teaching, the session after lunch, we used to call it the graveyard session. And the experience now is the opposite of what I went through in my other life. This really cannot be the graveyard session. Let's do like this, honorable members. Number one, I want to tell you what belongs here and what does not belong here. Number one is that there is a statement which was made here that by the MKP. And the ruling that I make is that, yes, it is correct that honorable members can make reference to any statement that was made by a member during the proceedings. I don't think that Honorable Sangoni was wrong to have mentioned the name of Honorable Skosana, to say Honorable Skosana has asked a question about the classification of information by IPIT, answers which the minister a question to which the minister has responded. Number two, it is true that if honorable members want to probe or inquire about alleged corruption at Palapala, if there has been, they will not be wrong in terms of the scope of the terms of reference that we have adopted. Those are the two issues that belong here to this meeting. Yesterday, I spoke to Honorable Skosana and said to him that once the referee blows a whistle, it means the referee has seen a misconduct that is not allowed in the pitch. And once the player who has been fouled reacts or remonstrates with the referee, that player also acts in common purpose. So I may not want to be thrown into how you conduct yourselves, but I want to remind you this. All along, I have been emphasizing this point that when we are here, we are in service of the people of South Africa. And I want to make this appeal once again to all of you, that let us not make the people of South Africa to know our parts, which we are not. The way they know us, let it always be how they know us, and not introduce to them the other sides which they have never known about us. Because that is how we keep the decorum of this parliament, and that is how we also keep our individual personalities intact. I mean, it's very, very unfortunate, Honorable Malema and Honorable Nomvalo, that it had to come to the point that it did, and for sure, I think that you should also be regretting that there could have been a way to deal with the matters that you strongly feel about, than to have dealt it the way you did. But look, you can't be crucified for that. You are human beings. Sometimes you may get very emotional, and at the end of the day, you learn from such moments in life. You are leaders coming from political parties recognized in this country. Mogolo o pelopedi. Ye nngwe ge e tlala, ye nngwe ya tlalologa. When you are a leader, you must always have two hearts. When the other heart is saturated, the other heart is it must become a second venue. Okay, the second heart must be able to help the other heart to restore your calm. So I hope that as leaders, you regret the moment that we are coming out of, and because I can't prescribe, I can just say we may not experience this kind of behavior again. And let me assure you, sitting here as the chairperson, I respect you so much. And I love you so much. You must not doubt it. I love you, Honorable Nomvalo. I love you, Honorable Malio. I appreciate you so much. And so, you know, sometimes I feel very bad about it. But look, we have to move forward and serve the people of this country. Honorable Sangoni, we will add 15 minutes more to your time. Yes, yeah, so.
Thank you very much.
So what it means is mutatis mutandis. So it will be you and the chief whip. It will no longer be 4 o'clock, it will be 4:15. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you so much also for your guidance in this matter. I'm sorry, Honorable Skosana, if you took offense, but I see now at least Honorable Manyi has joined us, so you are reinforcing. Thank you, Chair. It's a joke, okay. Chair, let me go to the questions, and thank you very much. Minister, I just want to start on the issue of what brings us here, and apologies to you, Minister, as well, that you had to sit through that. Obviously, at the core of the issues is around that 31st of December directive. Now, the Minister obviously appreciates that any administrative action has to be lawful and rational. I hold a view which coincidentally coincides with yours around the action. I want you to take us through that. I may hold a different view on rationality, but on lawfulness. So this year, my understanding is that the national policing policy was adopted in May of 2025. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So would it be your testimony, Minister, that you felt that the PKTT in its operations did not align with the policy or any other policy directive? And if so, briefly, Minister, because I know you've spoken to this, can you just elaborate how you were of the view that it's not aligned to policy?
Well, it is more non-alignment with PFMA than any other law, in the sense that more and more I felt that when all the information was before me, I felt that we may have made an error allowing the National Political Killing Stars team to operate without extensions that had been done as a procedure or process before. And then it became one of the factors. And then the other factors that have been alluding to here added as well.
So it's on the basis of that it was then a policy directive.
Exactly. It exactly arose in that context that I could do it.
Minister, you've been a minister since, if I'm not mistaken, July or August of last year. Were these the first directives that you gave to the National Commissioner?
Not necessarily, but in that form, yes.
What would have been the nature of either other directives or any other directives you would be aware of that a Minister of Police would have given to the National Commissioner would be in the space that you were directing on?
The other directives that arose in the context of discussions after we got appointed under the broad umbrella of orientation, which I said got elevated to discussions, got elevated to also decisions that were taken along the lines. I would make one example, that of removing from the structure the unit called Police Inspectorate. It was during that discussion, those discussions on the organizational structure, that the matter arose. And we said, no, after we asked questions and all of that, and we said, no, go and review this with a view to removing it from the organizational structure. In my view, that was a directive, but it arose in that context. This one arose in a different context, as I have outlined before.
So, Minister, that directive then, which
Chair,
for me...
apologies, Honorable Sangoni. I think the voice of the minister is too romantic this time. Sometimes we struggle to hear him. If he can come closer to the mic. It's too romantic. It's that romance that you've been preaching here in the House, Chair. Thank you.
The chair started it. So Minister,
No. What I said was plutonic.
That directive, Minister, sounds to me very much like this directive. So you are speaking to issues of a structure being removed, the police inspectorate. You did not get as much backlash as you did on this one. Is that correct?
I didn't, and that's correct.
Okay. No, thank you, Minister. I want to move on then to... Okay, I want to go to the IMC, but before I go to the IMC, you indicated in your testimony that you received a handover report from Minister Ele. I just want to find out, did that handover report from Minister Ele say anything on the PKTT?
Not as I read it. What was there, though, was a reference to committees in which the minister in that term, the last term, or the term before, was serving. Any other leadership position that the minister had been playing, that is what was reflected, not necessarily the National Political Killingsters team per se in any form.
Did he maybe give any reason at any point why he did not shut down the unit himself? I mean, it was a 2019 implementation plan. Did Minister Ele at any point, whether it was during the orientation or any point, indicate why he did not shut down that unit?
Not really. We didn't delve into that matter.
Okay. Now, Minister, this is where I disagree with you, and it's on the IMC. The handover report that Minister Ele would have handed over to you, if he used a standard template of handover reports, he should have, in that handover report, indicated which IMCs he was serving in as Minister of Police. Was this particular IMC there?
Yes, it was there.
Okay. So you had said, and I had been tempted to agree with you, that an IMC ends at the end of a term. But when I tried to look at this, I was informed that IMCs are established in two ways, one by presidential minute or two by cabinet decision. And there's always a process to disestablish an IMC, which is either it going to report to cabinet or memos being signed. Now, why would you then take it that at the end of the sixth administration, this particular IMC that had been handed over to you had been disestablished?
It's because cabinet at some point did sit and there were announcements of new committees, IMCs and all of that, and this one was not mentioned.
Okay, then I think that that may be new evidence, Minister, because what we have been deliberating on is, does it exist from sixth administration to seventh administration? But if you're saying that then cabinet agreed on the IMCs for this term, we would really like to see that, because I think it has an implication on your testimony. Now, you then say, Minister, that the reason you disbanded the PKTT was because it had been established by the IMC. You say that in your testimony, I'm not sure which page. Then in page 235 of the bundle, which is an information note written by General Khumalo, Lieutenant General Khumalo, requesting funding. He says the PKTT was established by the IMC. Page 247, which is a report to the minister written by General Masemula. In the fourth paragraph, he again confirms the establishment of the PKTT by the IMC. So there's no dispute, I think, there in terms of the PKTT being established by the IMC. You then say, when you took a decision to de-establish the PKTT, was because it has been established by the IMC. Why did you not, and I think you've been asked this question, I'm just not getting it. Why did you not then consult the other ministers who would be affected by your decision to disband? Because you're saying it was an IMC thing. Yes, the IMC doesn't exist, but why didn't you tell your colleagues who had been part of establishing it?
I'm sure it is the manner in which the decision was arrived at. We said with the deputy ministers, I think it was on the 21st of November 2024, to look at a number of issues that were picked up since appointment. In the main, those were complaints and so on of a human rights nature, and others about intelligence, subs, and some practices, dismissals and all of that. But we were getting allegations as well from different people. And then we said, what do we do with these allegations? In fact, we started by saying, what have you been receiving? Deputy Minister 1, Deputy Minister 2, and then I also shared some of the things that I had been receiving. And the resolution was saying, go and engage the National Commissioner around these matters, yourself, Minister. So we agreed, but I didn't do that. I think it was 21 or 26, thereby, because we had not discussed the details of the nature in which the form of that engagement, the extent, and all of those things. So I then grappled with that particular question. Now, it took some time, and I wasn't anticipating that there would be an ad hoc committee or a commission. I was just grappling on my own to say, how do I meaningfully engage the National Commissioner? Not just engage for the sake of engaging, engage for the sake of taking meaningful decisions that will take us further and out of what we were discussing, what we seemingly were in. Now, it went on and on because we were busy and with other things, and I wasn't that quick in taking that decision. It was only after I settled at break around the 29th and so on. Then I went home to sit, knowing I'm not getting up to some business, and then the other day, and then things started sinking properly and shaping up properly. And then on the 31st I wrote. Now, I may have been concentrating on what I needed to do as a minister appointed. And then that issue of consulting other ministers, even though there was no IMC, didn't arise. But I did check, though, I must confirm, with the special advisor to say, if you read this letter, because I consulted him after, and mainly on what I'd written, lawfulness of this constitution, and we agreed that it was all within the powers of the minister as per constitution and legislation, and then I went ahead.
Okay, Minister, now you say that you, as Minister of Police, who was chair of the IMC, you felt that it was within your rights to do this. But how do you say that as chair of an IMC that you yourself believe didn't exist, you could then disband? Where did you then draw the authority to disband from? Because you, in your statement, you say it was established by the IMC could disband it. You then didn't consult the IMC, but then as chair of the structure that you say didn't exist, where did you then derive that authority from?
This was a political intervention. It was not established through legislation. The minister has powers like 207, 2, and so on and so on. Now, when the National Political Killings Task Team was established, it was not through that power, but it was through a political intervention, starting from the president, then the IMC, political intervention, not legislation, the minister sitting and then saying, through powers vested on me, I must establish, I'm hereby establishing, as it had happened before, because there was another task team that had been established in 2016 and another that had been established in 2014. This one was not established that way. It was political intervention from president to IMC, of which the minister was one. So I then relied on that particular sequence or that particular mode or to do that, but leaning on the powers of the member of the executive. In other words, saying this was political intervention, this is political intervention, but now because I'm minister, I'm using that framework as minister to do what I did.
If we,
No, thanks, Chair, thanks. And I want to make a follow-up, Minister, on the question and the answer you provided. Let me give you the reasons why that question is fundamental. We have come to understand that the IMC was established by the President, and it was the IMC that established the PKTT or the PKTT. Now, the reason Honorable Sangoni is asking this question, Minister, is because our own deductions is that your existence as the chair of the Interministerial Committee equally ceased to exist when the committee is not re-established. And therefore, where would you draw the authority to disband the entire team as opposed to withdrawing the police who are under your executive authority as a Minister of Police? Because if you had said, no, I was not the chair of the IMC because it didn't exist, but as part of my own job to restructure the department of the South African Police Service or the South African Police Department, I then decided to withdraw the police. if the withdrawal of the police consequently led to the demise of the PKTT, that would be the consequences evolving from your own action. But in this context, you would have exercised your action in the context of the authority you enjoy as a Minister of Police, as opposed to a chair of an IMC that in your own admission did not exist. So I hope you are able to understand where we are coming from and the difficulty we see with the way in which, the way in which you exercise your own logic in deciding for the entire committee, while you, as the then chair of that committee, had ceased to exist when it was not re-established by the cabinet.
I understand. There is the IMC, then the IMC doesn't get continued with or re-established for the 7th administration. I no longer am chair of that. I'm now Minister of Police. Now, I then say, I would want to disestablish this, or I have to disestablish this. And what do I do in this situation? Because of there are this and this and this and this reason. And then we look at the Constitution on what the minister, no longer as chair, we look at and we see there's something called a directive using what now is what was a political intervention now facing me as a member alone. And then I say, okay, because there is this power to do a directive whose content is not necessarily determined, to say is only directive for this, on this and this and this. I then used that particular power as a directive, to direct, to give a directive.
Thanks. Minister, with hindsight,
Let me check. Honorable Chief Whip, are you okay? Are you satisfied?
Just a minor follow-up. I understand.
Let's do this. It will, just hold Honorable Sangoni. The clock has stopped.
Okay,
It will
all
be
right.
the Chief Whip, Honorable Malema, and Honorable Ngola. Honorable Minister, the microphone is on your right cheek. If you please make sure that it faces straight to your mouth.
No, thanks, Chair. No, I won't be long. I wanted to check, Minister, just one question only, and you will decide whether you answer it as a yes or no. In your own understanding, can a minister issue a directive that cuts across or beyond the department that a minister leads in terms of its impact?
Now, the National Political Killings Task Team was, for all practical purposes, a structure of police, in essence. But then, because of the needs for interdisciplinary and all of that approach, you then draw other relevant to then assist at official level, officials level now, that's what we're remaining with, who are playing specific roles there. Now, in my view, because this is housed in South African Police Service, I could do that. The resources that were being used there were not basically from subs. There may have been other resources used by, for instance, NPA and by others in their roles as they do there, but not as is the case or would be the case in subs, because as subs, you will have to get members from all over. As subs, you would hire accommodation, you would provide cars, you provide all of those things. So it was different from subs. And it did have an impact in terms of how you use resources and so on, far, far more than those other departments would have been consulted once you have taken a decision to say, look, we've come across this and deriving from history and all of that. And so my answer to your question is yes, in this instance.
Okay, Honorable Malim.
No, thanks, Chair. Minister, the NPKTT was established in 2018. Which administration is that one, of 2018?
It's the fifth administration.
And then it continued after the elections of 2019,
Yes.
which takes away the argument that you said they get dissolved automatically once a new administration comes in.
It doesn't necessarily. I haven't checked whether the interministerial committee that had been established in 2018 did get confirmed or endorsed or continued with in 2019. I suppose it happened.
No, Minister, me and you sitting here, and all of us, we know the interministerial committee that was established and came into effect, the NPKTT, July 2018.
Yes.
After that, there's never been any other announcement of re-establishment or anything of that sort. That committee, as it was established, it went on into the 7th administration.
Yes.
And now you are moving away from your argument, which you said earlier, a new administration automatically dissolves the IMC.
No, I'm not saying so. In cabinet, there could have been a meeting where, at the beginning of 2019, that particular IMC was endorsed. It doesn't mean that each time cabinet establishes its committees, it will go public and so on, especially if it was endorsed. I would need to check those facts.
So I'm happy that Honorable Sangoni says that's a new evidence that you are presenting to us, because all along we lived under the impression that when a new administration comes in, it's automatic. But then you go on to make another commitment, which I don't think is permissible. Honorable Sangoni says, you say cabinet might have established certain committees and all of that, and then we'll have to, she says, no, you must come and share that with us because it's a new thing. But sitting here, don't think you can just share the minutes of the cabinet, because you are going to commit to bringing the minutes of the cabinet here, which shows that certain committees were established except this one, and then you are going to come back and say, no, it is not permissible to take out the minutes of the cabinet. Are you sure you will bring us the minutes of the cabinet?
Subject to whatever condition, like you are talking about.
So we'll never know, because if you are denied that, then it's clear we'll never know. Then we are left with one information which is at our disposal. It was established, it came into effect July 2018, and then only got dissolved by yourself, because that's the only evidence and information we have. Apart from what you are saying now as a new evidence, we'll have to rely on what we have. Thanks, Chair.
Do you have any comment, Minister?
No.
Okay. Honorable Ngola.
Covered by the follow-up of the Chief Whip and the sentiments by Honorable Malema. Thanks.
You proceed, Honorable Sangoni.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Minister, I'm sure you're going to hate the word immediately after this session, and I will totally understand you. But in your letter, you said you didn't mean immediately because you asked for a preliminary report by the 20th of January. And you are using that as evidence to demonstrate that you didn't mean immediately. But then the second sentence, or the sentence after immediately says, the final and closing report must be submitted to the minister late January. Now, if your preliminary report is on the 20th of January and your final and closing report is late January, that's less than 10 days, 11 days. How can that not be immediate?
Well, it cannot be immediate because if you mention immediate and you cut out preliminary report, which is on the 20th of January, the following year, then immediate remains alone. If you also don't include end of the month, the meeting that takes decisions in the department, you don't count it. If I had not written those two, then we'd be discussing something else and totally different from when you include them. Because when you include them, they give you the context. Whether it was feasible to write a report after the preliminary report and then a closing report, it's different. That would be operational. The National Commissioner would have come, would have said, as would have happened throughout the period, Minister, I need 2 more weeks. Minister, I need this. It was happening all the time. So these were indicators in terms of how we should proceed, not the actual.
Thanks, Mr. Honorable Malema says yesterday, if somebody says stop a car immediately, you don't expect them to stop it next week. Ne? But would I be correct to say that your expectation was that by the end of January, this team must be shut down? Because when you say final and closing, it means that you are giving them January, 20th of January, they must say this is how far we are, and then end of January, they must have completed. So it was immediate from the point that you instructed them, and by the end of the month, within 30 days, they were supposed to be done. Is that correct, Minister?
That is correct, but subject to the managerial aspects arising from the preliminary report, arising from any other later report.
Okay. I won't ask you, Minister, because we've already asked some of the generals, but I think 30 days is a very short time, you know, to shut down something of that nature without putting in place plans. But I think your response would probably be that it's operational. But I do want to say that that is the basis, I believe, of you being accused of defeating the ends of justice. Because to say in 30 days with all of these dockets in place, investigations undergoing, end of January, this thing must be shut down. I don't know if you want to make a comment on that, Minister?
I do want to make a comment. The directive didn't have anything to do with dockets. Dockets were not part of the directive. In the preliminary report, in the final report, or discussions thereof, then the issue of dockets would have come in, and then the management comes and say, this is how we would then manage dockets. Common sense tells you that if there would have been a case or cases in court, the directive was not saying withdraw those cases just because you are closing. No, it doesn't. If you were chasing after a particular criminal, it didn't mean that. But as another example, you wouldn't. There were officers from other provinces. It also didn't mean that, or it wouldn't have meant that you tell them pack and go and just like that, because ordinarily, in terms of simple logic, that would not have been literally practical. But there are many instances where the executive would take a decision. Maybe, let's just say, not in a hasty fashion as this one may look like. But as the executive, you do say, let's do this in 6 months, let's do this in 3 months. If you're an executive and you don't do that, I would say, I wish you good luck. I would still want to see such a person, how you work and how you get your things delivered. But then I gave that indication. But you always know, you always without any error, that the executive management would vary whatever you say, and then you then move along. It's known.
No, thank you, Minister. Minister, what level of detail do you get briefed on when it comes to...
Just hold Honorable Sangoni, Honorable Malema.
Sorry, Honorable Sangoni, the chair is not looking at us, so that's why I'm screaming. Minister, we really have to take this process very serious. You can't say stop immediately, stop end of January. Doesn't mean if you are taking matters to court, you'll have to stop. It doesn't mean if you are chasing criminals, you'll have to stop. But what is the job of this team? Because its job is to take matters to court, is to chase criminals. So when you say if you are chasing a criminal, it didn't mean they must stop chasing criminals immediately. If they are taking matters to court, it doesn't mean they must stop taking matters to court immediately. So what was immediately going to stop? Because that is at the core of their work.
Now, the question and the answer arose in a context of dockets. When you wind down, even in December, as was the proposal from the National Commissioner, there would have been a case in court 5 years, for 10 years. Now, you would plan in your wind-up report a provision for that. So it's not just the two, which is the work of the National Political Killings Task Team. It's all embracing other aspects. She raised the question on dockets, and I said it was not in the, because that's not my terrain as minister. It was not in the directive. It would come with the National Commissioner, and it was left out. And therefore, they would, for instance, say, well, this is how we will close, if that would have been the decision or that they arrive at. But this is how we'll manage the dockets for the next 10 years or for the next 5 years. When you hear matters around dockets and so on, it was in that score that what are we going to do with ongoing investigations? No, transfer them to the organized crime unit in KZN or serious and violent crimes in KZN, so that they continue to investigate what was being investigated by the other team.
Okay, thank you so much, Honorable Member. Honorable Sangoni, may we proceed?
Thank you very much, Chair. Minister, you've already said that the letters and things that were written by Professor Mary de Haas only formed part of what you called the collective weight of your decision. But did you get any of these investigated? What Mary de Haas would have raised?
Well, Mary de Haas's matters were not only raised with me, they were raised with the National Commission as well. They were raised with the Portfolio Committee. I had a discussion with the National Commissioner and got his impression about what Mary de Haas was saying. Lastly, National Commissioner was saying, those matters we have looked at and found that there's a problem with this, there's a problem. Largely saying they are not, those matters are not as she raises them. I was satisfied with that at that time because I wasn't looking at any other thing. I just wanted to get his impression about this, if he had been conducted by Mary de Haas. So I then left that and moved forward with that kind of response. So I wouldn't say they were investigated by me, but the impression that I got from the National Commissioner was that indeed those matters were looked at by police.
Okay, Minister, on the basis of that response then, it doesn't make sense to me why you would then include them as part of the issues that you considered to be underpinning your reason. Because if I heard you correctly, you're saying you raised these matters with the National Commissioner, he dismissed them, you were comfortable with that. But we've got pages and pages of Mary de Haas here, so why would you then have them as part of the reasons why you disbanded the PKTT?
Now, they exist. Those matters exist. I think I last got the letter, I don't know whether it was October or what. So I was putting them as some of the things that I considered. I didn't ask for a report from the National Commissioner to say, give me a written report on your investigation on matters that Mary de Haas had raised. I just took it, I took him for his word. But here, the intention was to say, there is an indication of some problems. I could have added that I asked the National Commissioner and it dismissed them and so on, but that was not the intention. It was merely to say there are these matters, whether they are current or not current, but I did consider those matters.
Okay, why I was asking about Mary de Haas is that in paragraph 93, de Haas says that the task team achieved virtually nothing in 6 years except to cover up for politicians. Now, when you spoke to the National Commissioner or in your own investigations, did you find out who these politicians the task team is covering up for?
Not really.
Would it be something that is being looked at, because it's quite a heavy statement and it speaks to issues of political interference in the work of the PKTT? Would the minister not think that that's something that you need to follow?
Well, I read the whole letter, the letter as a whole, and I could see that it has got various matters, and didn't really go to each matter per se. And I did say that earlier. I didn't necessarily want to put that as the only weight or the only issue. I just took them as a collective, those issues that she was raising, that she is complaining about various matters, not necessarily one by one, necessarily, but I still took them on board when I, especially having not gone into all of them myself. So I said maybe I should just flag these matters as matters of concern, but I knew that these are not the only ones.
What has been your experience, Minister, of political interference in the subs? I mean, you've been there for a year now. Is there political interference that you are aware of in the functioning of the subs in particular, but maybe the criminal justice system as a whole?
I listened very carefully to General Mkhwanazi when he was making examples of what he views as political interference. Number one, he used a case where I called a district commissioner somewhere in KZN for some information. And then he said, this is one instance for political interference. What actually was happening there, for your benefit, I was driving to a funeral of one councillor that had been murdered. Now, when I got closer to the marquee where the gathering was, I checked my notes, and my notes didn't include whether those who had been apprehended were still in with the police or they had been bailed out. So I just needed that when I addressed mourners. And so I called one official that I was with who had, was already there to say, just get me the number of the district commissioner. Got me the number and I phoned. Bail or no bail, currently. And then he told me that no, they're still inside, and I think we had some small conversation.
I'm sorry, Minister. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I'm also looking at time.
Okay.
I hear you explaining that one case, but maybe a direct question is, are you interfering generally in the work of the SAPS? Are any of your colleagues and comrades interfering in the work of the SAPS? And I remind you, you are under oath, Minister. We really need to understand, are the police being hampered from doing their job because of political interference?
To be honest, I know of no instance that I could be accused of interfering, political interference for. And so it sounded very strange when I heard that, and I couldn't recall and whatever instance, but whatever may have happened before, I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, because I'm currently there, I couldn't recall any instance. I listened to the instances that he was talking about, and I don't agree that that constitutes political interference.
Thanks, Minister. So in your opinion then, what is at the center of these divisions amongst the higher echelons within SAPS? And outside of calling that peacemaking meeting, what have you sought to do about these divisions within the leadership of the SAPS?
These divisions seem to be rooted in some past, if you look at them, if you listen to them. So when I came there, they were already there. Let me make an example. National Commissioner and Head of Crime Intelligence come to brief me, high level, and make reference to General Khan that they are investigating him, they are at an advanced stage, and they have an intention of arresting him. And I respond by saying, you have my support. Then, I think a few weeks later, they then put something called expeditious kind of process to deal with him internally. Now, he then takes SAPS to court. He wins in court. So there's now no expeditious process. They then take to internal process, and he undergoes that, and he wins the case. Now, when he wins, it means he has won both cases that were at an advanced stage for him to get arrested. Now, I didn't understand that to say so, because I had asked the day before the matter was going to go to court, are we confident that there's a case? I was just asking because I had not been aware that I had been cited as a respondent number one. So I only became aware on the day before. So then there was also a rumor that I would want General Khumalo removed as head of crime intelligence and Khan being put there. And this is what I discussed with National Commissioner. National Commissioner, those rumors are not based on anything that is me. That would have. So you could see that it's a reflection of some of the things that are happening within the upper echelons of police. The root causes of which I wouldn't know, except that they are sort of oldish and they were there. And
Have you tried to fix them, though, as the leader of the SAPS?
as said yesterday, first thing I started with was to assure the National Commissioner that he has my support. And I remember at some point, Deputy Minister saying, you have now said enough of you having confidence to the National Commissioner, because in any major function, I would say I have confidence to the National Commissioner. So my calculation was that once the National Commissioner is confident that it's not a question of a new minister coming in and wanting him removed. I have confidence. I even told him that I haven't even checked when your term expires, and that was true. I had not operationalized it in my mind. And so I was making it easy for him to feel free. And my calculation was that National Commissioner felt comfortable and were working together. Then the next thing was to say there's a problem between him and Sibia. And then I called a meeting. My other step was then there's a problem between Sibia and one provincial commissioner. And then we said, I was intending to call a meeting between Sibia, who was kind of a common factor, with Khumalo, to say, what's the problem between yourselves? Because you are now hampering and disturbing the flow of work of police. Now, that I had not had the opportunity for. I don't think that they have real fundamental things like this one was trying to remove my head, and I dug a big bullet, and so I don't like him, and so on and so on. I think over time, things have accumulated among them of one way or the other, and they are in this state of affairs, which is really very, very, very worrying, to say the least.
Okay, before I move on to my last and final issues that I want to raise, Minister, what did you think that day when you saw Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi addressing that media briefing? What went through your mind? Did you think that the nation had failed, you had failed? What went through your mind?
Even though I didn't see him on the day, because I was busy elsewhere, I only saw that afterwards. My first reaction was, what has happened? And then my mind raced back to fight back. Is it fight back? Is it taking this shape? But I couldn't help but recall that there had been that mention of a fight back. Now later, when General Khumalo got arrested together with other people, then there was also another expression, the gloves are off, that I must be told that gloves are off. And I had not arrested Khumalo and other officers. They had been, but the word was, tell minister to prevent the arrest of Khumalo, which told me that General Mkhwanazi got or became aware before they actually got arrested. I was in Cape Town. So get minister to stop the arrest before the arrest happened. And then when that message didn't come, because he spoke to the chief of staff who was getting out of Cape Town, and he told that person, no, let's talk when I arrive in Johannesburg. And when he arrived in Johannesburg, that person who had been sent by General Mkhwanazi, as alleged, then calls chief of staff to say, General Mkhwanazi says, leave it, because General Khumalo has been arrested. And he said, you must tell minister, gloves are off. So I'm looking at these things that are happening through the lens of those two expressions, and in between a lot of other things. And I'm looking at that as something that had an impact in changing the mind of the National Commissioner, who even went to court to say he thinks that, or in a sworn affidavit, that he has no problem with the directives and so on, but the how part, and he wrote it down in black and white, which is further evidence that he had no problem and so on. He would then turn later when he went to the commission and for the first time clarifying where he stands and so on.
Okay. Thanks, Minister. Just my last few questions. You spoke about the Chief of Staff now. Minister, what framework demands that when you're hiring a Chief of Staff, you have a panel of interviewers, firstly? And secondly, who were on the list of other candidates that you mentioned that this panel was looking at?
I was meant to come with how, I don't know whether I got it. Yeah, how I rather read that to say this is the standing practice, and then I'll come. Sometimes there's compliance, sometimes there's no compliance. I'll find it.
Okay, while he's still looking
Okay.
at that, sorry, Minister, we'll come back to it as soon as you
Yes.
get it. So, Chief of Staff has got a BTEC in policing and a diploma or so. The position of Chief of Staff is at a level 14, a Chief Director in the Public Service, Major General in the SAPS. The minimum requirement for a Chief Director is an NQF level 8, which is a honors degree. So does the BTEC equate to a NQF level 8?
It would be honors and or. Then they will put other things.
But does the BTEC equate to the NQF level 8?
No, it's 7. But if you have to a diploma or diplomas, then it
Minister Susquat, is it not NQF level 8? Then if you have anything else, but for the door to be opened, it has to be a NQF level 8.
for sure. Let me see what happened. But there are specifications. But those specifications, I know that if you have other things, it happens that way.
Okay, maybe, I don't know if your legal counsel would either would have a job description or an
Yes,
advert for a level 14.
Yes,
because-
I'm saying this because in many instances it has happened that a person doesn't have an honors degree, but has a junior degree plus other things that when when SACA investigates or go through your qualifications as a whole, they peg you at a required NQF and they say you qualify for that. It has happened that way.
Okay, Minister, you were Minister of Public Service and Administration, so I'll take your word for it, but I have never seen it in practice. Otherwise, many people would not have studied if we could pack to get to NQF level 8. I'm not
Yes,
sure
I
if
know.
you've got that
Yeah.
information, Minister.
Honorable Sangoni,
Yes.
your time is no more.
Yes, the Chief Whip has said that he's taking over in 5 minutes. My last issue, it is my last issue. My last issue, Minister, is on the signal messages that are in this document. When the Minister was testifying and he was asked about this message on page 79, which says that, Minister, I've got the case number in the judgment, now we've got something proven by the court. This is a matter which either Sibia or the Minister can charge Khumalo with and apply Rule 9 of the disciplinary hearing. You testified, Minister, that you didn't know what he was talking about, so you didn't pay attention to it. But this is a big thing for you not to pay attention to it. When Brown Mokhotsi says, I've got something that you or Sibia can use to charge Khumalo, and he tells you what to do, how could you not seek clarity on this thing? Why would you just leave it? And then why would he refer to the two of you as a collective we? Minister?
In the first place, there's no minister who would have charged Khumalo. No such a thing. And I doubt if the Deputy National Commissioner would have done that And both of us, the minister and the deputy national commissioner, is just a no. There's no such a procedure in the first place. He can only be charged by the national commissioner or from outside. Now, when it came as a one thunderous thing, but about nothing. So I disregarded that on that score, that I didn't understand the meaning thereof. But knowing that I had received more or less other messages of that nature, including from Khutz, which you would struggle to have a meaningful. So I couldn't pursue that, but at least I knew that I had no such intention, because I mentioned there, and there's no such. So sometimes you just say, let me go on with my work, because there's no such. You are sure about that.
Okay, Minister, so you did testify that you wouldn't necessarily discuss issues of SAPS with Mr. Mokgotsi, but you can tell that from the message he's deep within the issues of SAPS. Whether he knows processes or doesn't, he's actively working for something, whatever it is in SAPS. Then he goes on in that other page where he says they can't get anything on the Phoenix saga. Then he talks to you about people who are off the funding, inverted commas, 20. And this guy has a 3 billion rand contact with SAPS. So he's also talking about setting up that meeting between Deputy National Commissioner and Chief of Staff. This doesn't sound like somebody who was not deeply involved in the issues of SAPS, Minister, and he's writing to you about them.
Let me just...
What would you do when he does things like this?
Let me talk about 3 billion, tender. I didn't even know, up to date, I don't even know what that tender is, what it is all about. I didn't know. One thing that I noted there that we had spoken about with him was the Phoenix thing, where he had called me and alleged that there was an investigation on Phoenix, which Phoenix is a wholesale in KZN. So he said there is somebody who is investigating and wanting to trump up some link or some trumped up links between me and Phoenix, and I didn't even know what that thing was about. And I said, you will tell me when you know something better about it. We were on the phone. So when it returned in the manner that it returned, I assumed that it refers to that. But the 3 billion tender, I didn't know. I didn't even phone him back, nor did I respond, because I just got lost what that thing was all about, let alone that I have nothing to do with tenders and subs, except in an instance where, like the one of 360, where I came across something that attracted me to make an inquiry with the National Commissioner.
Okay. Just to correct you, you did respond to that message, Minister, but it's cut off. That's the one Honorable Wessels was referring to yesterday, where you said, Minister, this is the last question. I'm going to close my laptop. I just need to read this to you. So you said since the 6th of July, you've been smelling, looking, everything, General Mkhwanazi. You addressed a meeting of the ANC recently, outside the scope of terms of reference, I know. But I was very interested in what you said. And because you were wearing General Mkhwanazi, I wondered if this had anything to do with the current saga. There you said, uma uguti wenze iphutha, ulenze iphutha ngoba phela umuntu ngumuntu. Ungasabi ukwenza iphutha, ulenze nje. Futhi uma bekugxeka bavumele. Do you remember you talking about that?
Yes, I remember
What mistake did you, if you were talking about yourself, Minister, feel that you made there? I mean, you go on, you know what you said,
Yes.
right? So what is it that you were addressing? What mistake, and from this experience, do you have any lessons that you think you've learned?
I wasn't addressing me at all on that day. I was addressing the chair of the task team in the region where I come from, Mr. Elfas Mbata, saying you have been appointed to chair the region here. As you work, you may make some mistakes, but even when you are criticized, go on, because
So it was not about you making mistakes?
not at all. I saw some tweets and something like that on social media. It had nothing to do with me. I was almost facing Mbata.
Have
to
you made
say-
any mistakes, Minister, and do you think there's any lessons you need to learn from this?
Yes, there would be mistakes. No one is perfect. I know that, and me too. I'm not perfect, but I always make an effort not to make mistakes. But even in that, but when I realize that I've made a mistake, I try by all means first to admit that I made an error and then correct whatever error I would have made.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you so much. Chief Whip, the honorable member has informed me that your time is indivisible. So your time is going to expire at 20 minutes after 16 hours. So let me just take some 10 seconds and recognize Honorable Manyi from the